Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chris. It is nice to see you guys and welcome to Crystal's Fantasy Life. Crystal is my real name. I just prefer to go by Chris. It's a nickname that showed up with my family when I was a kid and it has stuck through my life, and now that's what everybody calls me on video games and that's what I go with. So I am Chris. I have introduced myself numerous times, but welcome to my new channel name. I tried to do Chris's Fantasy Life, but I couldn't use apostrophes. I've explained this in a post, and it just wasn't going to look right to go K-R-I-S-S. It wasn't going to look right. So we went ahead and went with Crystal. I have a hair in my eye. So you can see I actually did my makeup today. I kind of felt like doing a full face. It's been ages. Hopefully it shows up okay. My makeup's kind of old. I was just kind of rolling with it, but that is okay. I am here. You are here. Hopefully, if you are, great. And if not, you know what? I just do these for fun. I work full time. I'm not trying to get any money from these. It would be cool, but not what I'm here for. So today, as you can see by this beautiful book I have displayed up here, I've kind of pushed my other books back just so that way it could sit. Today is going to be my first ever book review. Spoilers ahead, I may unintentionally spoil the story for people just because I tend to ramble, as you can tell. So just spoiler warning, if you haven't read the book yet, I highly recommend it, but if you haven't, obviously feel free to click off the video because obviously if you hate spoilers. I personally don't mind them. It drives my husband nuts. I have looked up spoilers for multiple video games that he has played while I was watching because I got impatient. Final Fantasy 15 being one of them, Final Fantasy 10, 7 Remake, Trails of Cold Steel, all the way 1 through 4, you get the idea. Anyway, it's been 2 minutes already. How about we get into the book? So, like I said, this is For Whom the Bell Tolls by Jaycia Lynn. I'm still not 100% sure how to pronounce her first name. I do apologize if I am saying it wrong. Oh my god, I have a hair in my eyelash. We are off to a wonderful start, aren't we? But I got this at Barnes & Noble, and of course, like I said, it is stunning. But when you take the dust jacket off, I'm not going to put this back on during the video. We'll just display them up here next to each other. Hopefully that behaves. Then the book looks like this. And this is just absolutely beautiful. The back of it says, "Together they walked into hell," or towards hell, excuse me. And of course the pages, and then you've got the end sheets. Now that is Lily. That is the main character of the story. And this is her help desk, H-E-L-L-P. My light might kind of be shining on it. I apologize if you cannot see that. And then it says F-A and F-O for fuck around and find out. So she is the main character, like I said. Sorry, I almost forgot the back pages. So of course we see Lily again. This is Beliath, I think I am pronouncing that right as well. Hopefully somebody in the comments can let me know who we meet. He ends up being the main male character. And then little girl back here in the shark onesie is a little girl who we meet later in the story. Real name Zoe, but becomes dubbed Sharky. And anyway, before I get too much into the pages and stuff, as I said, Lily is the main character. She is 34 years old, but the book begins with a cancer diagnosis. I believe it is brain cancer. Later in the book, it talks about headaches and everything. And unfortunately, she cannot afford treatment. She works retail or customer service. So she makes the decision to not fight and just decides to make herself comfortable. And a couple chapters into the book, she does pass away. And she finds the afterlife is very different from what religion and most people teach us, which I actually like. I like this version a little bit better. I think it's a little bit less scary. I've always been terrified of dying because I'm like, is it going to be dark? Like, am I going to be on my own? Like, I have tried to steer clear of thinking about it. But then, I've got my ADHD where it's like, okay, I'm 35 now, in 5 years I'm going to be 40, and then I'm halfway to 80, and then, you know, it goes on for a whole thing. But Lily arrives, and she is met by another, she's actually met by a demon who, I will have to type up names on the screen because I'm not going to be able to pronounce most of these, and I apologize. So I'm recording on my phone. I will try to figure out how to add these demons and demonesses' names in because I don't want to butcher them. But she meets a demoness who explains to her what is going on because she's in this hallway with all these doors and all these arches and everything, which are the different afterlives or afterworlds, whatever you want to call them, that you can visit. So she is informed about paradise, which is when you pass away, you don't necessarily go to heaven and you don't necessarily go to hell. You get your own personal paradise. So she arrives at hers. It is her childhood home where her childhood cat Max is, who passed away, you know, years and years and years ago. So Max is there. The inside of the house is, you know, there's photos from memories, including one with her younger brothers where they scaled down this cliff towards this water. All three of them, like, nearly died, and they were like, okay, we are never telling anybody about this, especially not Mom. So that's there, you know, and as the days go by, she finds herself getting more and more accustomed to being, well, dead. So after a while, you know, the house, you know, gives her what she needs. Like, at one point she goes, is there sex in the afterlife? And this house just makes a vibrator appear. So, like, thanks. But she goes around to explore and decides, I'm gonna visit hell. Why not? So she visits hell and finds this line of souls who are waiting to be told what level of hell they are going to. 8 and 9 are the worst, obviously. 3 through 6, you know, are not as bad, still not great, but you can work your way up. And 1 and 2 are therapy. They're where people go if they want to, you know, if they show remorse, they want to get better, they feel bad for what they did in their lives. That's where they are sent, and they can work their way out to their own personal paradise, which I love. You know, I don't like this whole thing about, oh, you did this thing bad, you're going straight to hell. That's not how I feel that works, you know? And it reminds me always, with everything going on right now in the world, of a quote from MASH. Hawkeye asks Father Father asks Hawkeye, what's worse, hell or war? Hawkeye says war, and Father asks why, or his name's on the tip of my tongue, it'll come back to me. And Hawkeye says, who goes to hell, Father? Sinners. War claims everybody, innocents, men, women, children, animals, cities, entire continents. Hell is worse, or war is worse, which I honestly agree with. But anyway, I apologize, I went off on a whole tangent. But Lily decides she's going to help out. She's done customer service in her real life, you know, in her life. Why not? So she dubs it the help desk, as I said, HELLP. And a desk just appears for her, so she sits down and she starts helping people, you know, helping souls figure out where they're going. And eventually, she is given a weapon, a baseball bat. And there are a few souls who are really, really bad. One that she tells about later in the book, who ate dogs, she beats with the bat to a bloody pulp. Souls regenerate. So, you know, the groaning pile of visceral on the floor is going to be just fine. He'll turn back into a soul. It's okay. And, you know, child molesters, she, you know, knacks their teeth out and everything. And, you know, so I love that. I'm like, probably a bad idea to give me a baseball bat in real life. Because thankfully most people, you know, I run into are nice. Thankfully. And as we go further into the book, she starts playing video games with some of the people she has started meeting. You know, they're going out, they're getting drinks, you know, and everything, and they get together, play video games, which you apparently can do. Everybody gets a cell phone, and as soon as you ask for somebody's number, it just appears. You don't have to exchange numbers, which thank you for making it easy. But she eventually meets a group of people, and one of them, his online name is Fruitbat. Come to find out, that is Goliath, who obviously we saw on the back end page. I have a cat going right for my ring light. Please, no. All right, well, if you're here, you're going to say hi. This is Butters. He's not too happy with me right now. He doesn't like that, but he'll survive. So that is Goliath, who Lucifer, apparently, yes, Lucifer is a thing, affectionately nicknamed later on Lucy, decides Goliath has been single for far too long. And he gives him an errand. I need you to go get this sword for me. You know, go here and go get this for me. It's like, fine, I will go get it. Where he ends up meeting Lily, and the connection, as you can tell from the writing, is instant. But they don't make any moves on each other for a while because Lily is still deciding if she wants to regenerate, which is go back and live another life. Because as she arrives in paradise, sorry, I do have pajama shorts on, but I'm sitting on the floor. She has fragments, memories of her previous lives, and some that are so difficult that she can't even imagine going back through them. Somewhere, you know, one where she was a child and she froze to death, and it's just, okay, so this is a thing. I'm trying to fight off a sneeze. I'm on my phone, so there's going to be, like, no editing, so if I sneeze, I wholeheartedly apologize. But her and Goliath become friends, you know, they're hanging out, the connection's instant, she's still helping out the help desk, and as she is talking, this is, I guess, a few weeks, you know, into her afterlife. I don't know exactly, you know, what the time, frame is for in the book. There's not really any indication that I can remember. She is talking to the demoness who met her first off in the hallway, which is what they call the spot with all the arches. And a little girl who has to be about 8 years old shows up soaking wet and in a shark onesie. So, and she is, I belong in hell. I need to go to hell. You know, that is where I was told I was going to go. And Lily's like, what? Like, why would you say that? Well, she starts calling her baby shark first of all. And little girl's like, I am not a baby. So they land on Sharky, real name Zoe, who snuck out of her foster house to go to the aquarium because she loves, you know, aquatic life and everything, and was hit by a drunk driver. You know, it's dark, it's wet, and she dies on impact. And so she ends up in the afterlife, and, you know, Lily, thankfully, is the first person she meets, and Lily is able to read her file, which is how she helps with the souls. Just a file folder appears, you kind of put your hand on it, and you get to see their entire life. And as soon as she sees that, mentally, she calls for Lucifer. She's like, I need help. You know, what do I do? So Lucifer, you know, mentally, or I guess texts her, you know, take the elevator, go here, I'll meet you. And he kind of takes a look at what Sharky's file is, so that way he knows before going into this conversation, so he doesn't say anything that's going to trigger her. And they get to talking, as, you know, Goliath had ended up meeting up with them too, so him and Lily are off to the side talking. There is another cat here. Hi. Just going to set him off to the side. But Lucifer manages to convince, Sharky that she does not belong in hell. She can go to her own paradise. But she's young, she's terrified, you know, she's still convinced that what her foster mother told her and what her pastor did to her, as we find out later, her and Lily, both in religious capacities, had men who were supposed to look after them force themselves onto them as young, you know, women and little girls. And, But after talking with Lucifer for a while, Sharky decides she's going to stay with Lily. And come to find out a little while later that Lucifer sent out the call and told everybody. And so Lily's getting messages on her phone from, like, Gregorith, later allowed to call him Greg, down in level 9, who is like, when these people arrive, we're ready. And they will be shown no mercy. Like, I'm getting goosebumps now. Like, that whole scene just, I love it. But Sharky decides to go ahead and stay with Lily. And so the house gives her her own room. You know, it's aquatic themed and everything. And she's so terrified that somebody is going to come in while she is sleeping. Lily is like, the house won't let anybody in. It will be your sanctuary. And the house puts up an invisible barrier at the door. Lily can't bypass. Blythe can't bypass. Max is a cat. Of course he can bypass. He goes in there and snuggles with, you know, Sharky all the time. And Sharky is finally able to breathe, you know, and she gets shown around the afterlife as well. Lucifer actually gives her the tour, and she realizes she could go to school if she wishes down in hell. So she starts going to school. She starts making friends. They start hanging out in Valhalla, which is a place you can go. She's working out with the warriors there. You know, they're letting her mock battle and everything. Like, she lives up to her name as Sharky by biting into this guy's ear and drawing blood. And I'm just like, you know, that is fantastic. And so life goes on. Sharky starts growing, which she's all excited about. So again, another trip to Valhalla, and she runs in, hey guys, I've grown! And you've got just these group of warriors hoisting her up onto their shoulders and celebrating and hooting and hollering. And like, Justia Lynn's writing is fantastic. But, you know, finally, after a while, Blythe and Lily finally start dating. And when they tell Sharky, she goes, well, duh, weren't you guys always? You didn't hide it. So apparently everybody was like, yeah, they're together, but they hadn't made anything official yet. But they finally do. They still take things slow because Lily obviously has her own trauma, you know, despite the fact, you know, you read romance novels and you use the toys and everything. So you know sex can and is supposed to feel good, and it's not what that guy put her through. They still take it slow, especially for Sharky's sake, to make sure that she is comfortable with this, considering, you know, her whole foster family situation. And the whole time in the back of Lily's mind, she is questioning whether she is going to regenerate or not. Blythe is terrified, but understands that it is her choice to make. He has trauma of his own from somebody he loved leaving. It's not specifically specified why. I personally believe she regenerated and went back to, you know, Earth, I guess you could call it. So they take things very slow, but after a while, you know, they finally consummate their relationship. It only takes forever. But in between all of that, there is another universe who is trying to get into this one. They are sending forth armies, and they are doing battles and everything. Like, hell is at war with, and they never specify what other universe this is, because there is something called the void, where souls can go when they're just tired. They're done, and they go back to being part of the universe. This universe has used all of its resources. There's nothing left. And so the souls, of course, there are terrified, and they're like, all right, we need to get hell's power to see if that can save us. So Blythe, of course, is in and out of, you know, here he's at war, he's home, he's at war, and, you know, it starts to wear on him, which Lily notices. So she gives him some fussing when, you know, when he comes home, just, you know, laying on the couch and everything. And Sharky's like, could he use some Sharky fussing? And Lily's like, probably. So Sharky goes, take him to the library when you're done. Because their house, of course, has a library. And she's like, okay. So she tells Blythe, you know, and he goes, I could use some Sharky fussing. Why not? So they go into the library. And Sharky has set up this windowsill where Lily likes to sit and read, you know, pillows, blankets, and everything, and tells them to sit down. And they sit down. She goes, I'm not done. And so she rushes out, and then she comes back with mugs of hot cocoa. And she's like, you know, cocoa helps. And then they take the mugs, and Blythe starts sipping. She goes, I'm not done yet. Runs off. Comes back with a book. She's got Lord of the Rings, I believe. And a very confused Max under one arm, who is like, why did you pick me up? But she, you know, sets Max down by Blythe's leg, hands Lily the book, and says, out loud, please. And the three of them, you know, like a little family, just lay there. And, you know, Blythe falls asleep. Sharky eventually falls asleep. Lily eventually falls asleep. And they just They stay like that. And life is great until the call goes out that it's time for Belias's legions to muster. They are going to war. And so he is off with his thousands of legions, men that some of these men he has known for years and years and years. And it's like, all right, we're going to war. And so, he says his goodbyes. And of course, Lily's worried. Sharky's worried. Lucifer's worried. Leviathan, who I almost forgot we met, is worried. Beelzebub is worried. They're all worried. And then, they start hearing that the fighting's not going great. People are dying, this isn't looking good, and Lily, one day she tells Sharky, she's like, I need you to stay in paradise. Do not leave. I have a bad feeling something is wrong. And so she goes, goes to get a coffee, and is trying to figure it out. And two of the creatures, I cannot pronounce them again, so I'm going to have to figure out a way to type them. If I forget, I'll just put them in the description box. Managed to break through and start coming into, their hallway. And Lily starts screaming for everybody to just get inside, get away, run to paradise. It doesn't matter where you go, just go. Get out of this hallway. It's going to be bad. And she manages to take down the biggest creatures on her own with her sword that was supposed to be Lucifer's, but, Beliath left with her close to the start of the book. She manages to cut its head off. And thankfully, the other creature is killed by another group, so everything ends up being fine, thankfully. As they are, recovering from that and dealing with that and everything, injured people are starting to come back from the war, and there's no news of Beliath. They don't know where he is. They don't know if he's hurt. They don't know if he's dead. There's just no news, and after this, or before this, of course, Lily's really worried because she's already met his family. Obviously, she's met Leviathan, Beelzebub. His mom is Lilith. His father is Samuel, one of the oldest beings who had decided to go to the void because he was just tired. But Lily had met Lilith. She had met his siblings, including his baby sister. Lilith had just had another baby. And the way she introduced herself to Lily was, hi, Lily, I'm Lilith. Here, have a baby. And just hands this adorable little baby girl who Beliath has nicknamed the Almighty Baby Grenade because she screams, to Lily. And of course, Lily, immediately just takes to it. She does want kids. She does want a family, but without a heartbeat and being just a soul, she can't give it to Beliath. So she is still considering about regenerating and going back and trying to have a family and everything, when the call finally comes in from Lucifer, and she is running towards the hallway before he even, she answers the phone when they say, we found him. He is hurt, but we found him. They found Beliath near death on the battlefield. So they brought him back, and, she sat outside with Gregory for a while to, they kind of talk because he felt like he didn't deserve to be inside with Beliath and his families while he, 6 healers are spending all their energy to make sure he stays alive because half his ears got to be regrown. His wings are torn, so they got to, fix the membrane and everything. And so they have a moment, and, it takes a while, but Beliath eventually does. Thank the gods, he does wake up, so his family, can rejoice. Lily can rejoice, and Sharky feels so much better because he's alive, he's not dead, he's, and then there's the whole ceremony they do for the dead because, they put the bodies on pyres, but there's not really fire or anything. They just go up to become part of the universe, so they kind of just disintegrate almost into particles. But all the princes of hell have to be there, and wearing their crowns and stuff. And Beliath has never worn his because, of course, he has trauma from his dad leaving, going to the void. Because Beliath walked him to the void and said goodbye and watched his dad walk away to become part of the universe, Not an easy choice to make, but Samuel was tired. He wrote Beliath a note and explained this, I'm old, I'm exhausted. You are the greatest thing ever to happen in my life, but I am tired. I cannot keep going. So they are getting ready for the ceremony. Lily's going, Sharky's going, and Sharky asks Lily to braid her hair, and then Blythe asks have his hair braided, and then he hands Lily a box and says, I need help with this. And inside of it is Samuel's crown. And so Lily helps him put it on over his horns, and then everybody gathers, and Greg does a double take because he's never seen Blythe in his crown before. So they do the ceremony, Lucifer does his part as, the ultimate ruler of hell. And then, the princes, they sing a song, and that's what sends these souls, these demons up into the universe to become part of what keeps this place going. And sorry, I have cats starting to fight in the background. But then Lily decides, there's more we could do. And so they get flowers, and they're not the only ones, but they gather flowers, white lilies, and go out to the battlefield and lay flowers on the bodies of the departed who were not taken back, because they could be from the other army, or they weren't demons, or, and they are not the only ones, so there are other people out there doing it, and the flowers just gather, next to one of their white lilies. Somebody sets a yellow chrysanthemum, and I love the symbolism of that even, and I'm probably going to get dragged for this because you know how people are with religion, but even demons can, have hearts, whether I think it's true or not, I don't quite know, but I do like how she wrote the afterlife. And then after all this, Lily receives good news. There is a small, very, very small loophole that Leviathan found to where she could, go to the regeneration office and say, I'm never regenerating. I want to apply to just stay here, which would give her a heartbeat back. It would give her the ability to have kids, and she could stay forever, Obviously, she's already dead, so she's not going to die again. So she doesn't tell anybody, and she just takes off to try to go apply to this and everything. Doesn't tell Blythe, who, when he finds out she's at the regeneration office and hasn't said anything. Now you get to see the third one. This is Ridley. When she's at the regeneration office and didn't say anything to him, he freaks to the point he's screaming, he's crying, he's throwing up. And when her life file that she had given him to see what she had been through in her life with the church and why she stepped away and everything, when that disappears, he's all alone again. He doesn't know if she's gone. And when she finally races into his office and sees him throwing up in the corner, she walks over to him and he's like, okay, you're here. You would not have left without saying goodbye. And she apologizes, realizing she should have told him first and everything, but she was far too excited, obviously. Can you two fight anywhere else but the closet door? Anybody else have cats? Is it? Yeah, whatever. We'll just ignore them. It's okay. But she tells him, there is a chance. I have applied to give up regeneration forever so that way I can stay here with you. That is why, I'm sorry I didn't tell you, but I was too excited. As this conversation's going, they talk it out and everything, but as the conversation's going, Lily suddenly feels thump, 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 thump. Her heart's beating again. It worked. She is able to stay. That means she's able to have kids. And so, they're celebrating, they're excited and everything, and they tell Leviathan, who's not big on physical contact and had sent out numerous memos of, please do not have sex on the desks in the office. Does anybody listen? No. But, excuse me. But, they tell him, and she goes, souls can't have heartbeats, right? And he actually hugs her. He's like, oh my God, this will make things so much easier. And then they tell Sharky, who's like, you're staying? Really? You're not going anywhere? And because Sharky at this point had been calling Lily and Blythe mom and dad, seeing them as her parents. And, that's kind of where the book starts leaving off. They are a family. They go towards hell together. Their paradises and, everything. Blythe obviously lives in hell, and Sharky's got rooms at both spots that nobody else can enter but her and Max. And so, excuse me, the book ends with Lily meeting another soul, Penny, and that is supposed to lead into her next book, which I'm very excited for. We don't have a release date yet, so I'm a little bit bummed about that. I was kind of hoping we would have one by the time I did this video, but oh well. But the book ends, you know, epilogue. It's a few years later, and, you know, Lily and Belias still haven't gotten married yet. There's no talk about kids. They wanted to, you know, kind of, you know, take things slow and everything. Sharky has aged to about 15 or 16 at this point, moved into her own paradise, which is basically a giant aquarium. And apparently, you know, Lucifer managed to find her a megalodon. I don't know where. You know, Lily doesn't know where, but apparently one of my favorite lines, other than, you know, here, have a baby, is Lily talking about nearly having a heart attack when she looks over and sees Sharky with this little plastic, like, leaf rake giving this giant megalodon scritchies. Like, here, let me, you know, scratch you, you know, behind the gills. Like, good Lord. Apparently she named him Bruce. Fish are friends, not food. But I cannot say enough good things about For Whom the Bell Tolls. This has, and I've read a lot of 5-star reads throughout the year already, you know, 7 Deadly Thorns and Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil and everything, but this book just, whoops, it was doing a good job. That's okay, we'll just set that on the floor. But this book, I mean, this resonated with me like nothing else. I'm like, this is what I hope my afterlife is like, you know? I hope, obviously, my family is there. You know, my mom is already there. And there's a few minor characters you'll see that'll stick out to you. There's one gentleman who is sitting by the entrance gate because he promised his wife he would wait for her. And when Lily arrives, he's been waiting for years and he's still waiting. By the end of the book, his wife has arrived. You know, they are going to their paradise. They are together, you know, and I love that. You know, I absolutely love that because that's the other thing I'm terrified of. You know, am I going to be alone? Am I going to forget everything? You know, where am I going to end up? You know, you could say the Bible tells you, Sunday school tells you, church tells you. It's like, what? That's not going to stop me from asking questions, you know? But so, For Whom the Bell Tolls by Josiah Lynn, I highly, highly recommend. 5 stars, 10 stars, whatever you want to give it. Give it a read. You won't be sorry. So, I'm going to go. I've been talking for over a half hour. My throat is starting to feel it. I need to turn the AC on back up, or turn the AC back on up in, oh my God, turn the AC back on up here. Because I am, like, I'm in long sleeves and I am sweating, but I didn't want you guys to hear the AC unit as I was talking, which I used to do with my Animal Crossing videos, and I never realized just how loud it was until I started watching videos back. So, oops. But I highly, highly, like I said, I cannot recommend this book enough. I mean, the author's note talks about the idea of the book coming to her from dealing with a customer who was complaining at Joann Fabrics on a Sunday about not being able to use a coupon on a sale item. I work at Hobby Lobby. I thankfully haven't had that argument very often because we don't have coupons anymore, thanks to a couple of customers deciding to, I don't even know if I could, well, it should be a public record, about who decided to sue the company because they couldn't use their 40% off coupon on a piece of furniture that was already on sale. So they destroyed it for everybody. Gee, thanks. But I mean, I will definitely be rereading this book again. Probably not anytime soon, though, because I'm working my way through other books now. I actually have Magic Study downstairs. I'm trying to get my way back through this. I loved Poison Study. Magic Study's kind of been going a little slow for me, so sorry I got the hiccups. I'm hoping it'll pick back up. But I will see you guys in my next video, which will be right after the start of April for what I read in March. That's not going to fit. All right, I will deal with that in a minute because I don't want to destroy the dust jacket and I already bent it. That's great. It's on the bottom. I can easily fix it. But I'm planning on taking vacation that week, so hopefully, you know, I'll get some videos out. Like I said, I would like to do reviews of 7 Deadly Thorns, Bury Our Bones in Midnight Soil. Oy vey. My cats had me up before 8 a.m. this morning wanting to be fed, and it is my day off, so I was not happy, and I'm still tired. Anyway, I'm gonna go before I start rambling too much. So my next video will be just after the beginning of April, which will be what I read in March, and then hopefully we'll get started with some more book reviews. Like I said, it's a little bit harder for me to record now with my husband being on day shift. He's home when I get home, and of course I need to make dinner and stuff, and that just makes it all the more difficult. I could probably tell him I wanted to record and he would just let me, but it is what it is. But anyway, I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. I hope you have a great rest of your March. I'm still over there playing with my hair tie. And I love you all to the moon and back, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!